Welcome, everyone, and lovely to see lots of folks here in the Zoom room and new folks and lots of longtime regulars. Really lovely. Feels like a homecoming to see folks again. This is our first Wednesday night gathering of 2025, and uh, yes, as as usual, pondering what to share and what to talk about here. And reflecting on the state of the world and and this sense of where things are headed, not getting better for a while, it seems. Getting worse, I would forecast in terms of care and love and compassion and protection for the vast majority of people. And I was recalling what someone reminded me of a little while back of the spheres of there's kind of these three growing spheres, and the smallest one is called the sphere of control, and this is what we actually have direct control over, which is pretty narrow. It's actually just ourselves. As much as we wish, we could control so much more and so many more other people, even within our own homes or friend circle. We can't control what other people choose and how they act. Um, and so we have that small sphere of control. And then around that is a larger sphere of influence, which can change over time and through different circumstances. But it can also be surprising how much influence we can have, sometimes in ways that we don't realize, that we can engage with others, especially hopefully skillfully through all these social media platforms that we have access to a lot more people. And so we can engage with other people, but we don't have direct control over how they think, speak, and act. But that sphere of influence is important, I think, for us to engage in and to be skillful in. And then the very much wider, as wide as you can conceive, as your heart can connect in this vast interconnected web of life, is our sphere of concern. And especially with all of our interconnected media and knowing what's happening around the world. And we may feel quite powerless. And sometimes that can lead to kind of a freeze response or a numbing response or a helplessness, a feeling of helplessness. And so it can be helpful to just look back to actually your sphere of influence and what can you have an effect? How can you engage with others? There is a surprising amount that we can make a difference with. And tonight I wanted to particularly talk about this sphere of control. What can we actually have a direct influence and impact on? And that is our own hearts and minds and our skillful thoughts, speech, and actions. That those three spheres of control influence and care or concern are attributed to Stephen Covey, who is a prolific author and kind of like I didn't research him that much to be able to properly introduce him, but I guess a self-development coach type guy. There you go, Stephen. Best intro ever. Oh dear. So, sphere of control. This when we're feeling perhaps overwhelmed or a sense of a lack of agency in the world, it can be really helpful to bring it into what can I do to be a source of compassion, which is in the Dharma is an action. Compassion, karuna is a response to the suffering of others. And it's not just nice ideas, it's action. Uh, and so I wanted to talk, as I have often before, but a little bit more about our sila, our ethics that the path is built on, the foundation for the Dharma. And Bhikkhu Bodhi says it so well. He says, only the very exceptional few can alter the stuff of their lives by a mere act of will. That's so good. Like we can just think, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be better and I'm, going to change this about my life. And just having just this will is not enough, that we need these very clear and distinct guidelines on our behavior and including speech, etc., that we'll talk a bit more about. Um, and these sila, it's called Sila in Pali, these ethical guidelines for lay people we're talking about tonight, they help to calm and clear our hearts and minds, very calming, to do our best to act in ethical ways, because you can certainly know the difference when you've done something unskillful. And it's so disturbing. You keep going over it and justifying it and regretting it. And it just creates a great deal of disturbance. Great deal. Um, and so these precepts are understood to be protections. They protect ourselves by helping us be calm, and they protect others. They offer that people know it's safe or at least brave to be in your company, that you're not going to be certainly not intentionally harmful and hopefully as skillful as possible, even though we do still cause harm sometimes. There's a sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya for those that are interested, 3.5. And the title of the sutta is self-protected. It's called Atta-rakkhita. Atta means self, and rakhati means to protect, strength, shelter, to save, to preserve. What were the other meanings of it? Yeah. And so this teaching, this sutta, is it's phrased first in the negative. So this King Pasenadi was of Kosala was practicing, and he had some insights that he wanted to share with the Buddha. So he went to the Buddha and wanted to share what he had realized. And so he says, just now, while I was alone and in seclusion, this train of thought arose in my awareness. Who have themselves protected and who leaves themselves unprotected? And then it occurred to me, he goes on, those who engage in bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct leave themselves unprotected. Even though a squadron of elephant troops might protect them, a squadron of cavalry troops, a squadron of chariot troops, and a squadron of infantry troops might protect them, still they leave themselves unprotected. Why is that? Because that's an external protection, not an internal one, and therefore they leave themselves unprotected. And I was thinking about so many warmongering politicians that are, protecting themselves with squadrons of elephants or cavalry and chariot troops and infantry troops, but they're still unprotected because they don't have that internal ethical protection. And this teaching, this sutta goes on in the positive. King Pasenadi says, but those who engage in good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, and good mental conduct have themselves protected. Because even if they don't have a squadron of elephant troops, cavalry troops, chariot troops, nor a squadron of infantry troops, they still have themselves protected. Why is that? Because it's an internal protection. And this to me relates to this sphere of control, that when we take care of what we actually have control of, we're cultivating this internal protection. And not only that, we're offering that to others. When we're doing our best to control or to cultivate skillfulness within what we have agency over ourselves, that offers protection to those who we're with. And of course, this has a ripple effect and has a sphere of influence that is bigger than what we may realize. I was just with someone recently who got really activated over a situation that was happening, and they were in this fight flight response in their adrenal system and said some unskillful things and acted like their energy and their movements and their words were quite aggressive, and not to me, to someone else. And but to see how much disturbance that caused in them, but also in the other people that they were affecting, which I wasn't privy to see how that affected them ongoing, but you could imagine. But to see how it continued, to fester really, and really caused a lot of disturbance and harm. And, that doesn't need to be the end of the story. We can offer amends and forgiveness practice. And if you have the opportunity to actually apologize, then that's excellent. um, so there still are ways to work with these things even after the fact when we have been unskillful. And I wanted to share, let me just do a little screen share here before we do our practice. And can't be that hard to find. Share. There it is. Yay. The big green button, Jill. Yes. So these are a version of the 5 lay precepts. I can try and make it bigger. Let me see if that helps. Yeah, and then I'll just zoom down. So these 5 lay precepts, uh, I really like these other wordings of interbeing contracts. Isn't that so lovely? That's from Reverend Leanne Shute. I'll mention her in a moment. Um, Interbeing contracts or commitments, enactments, like they're not just precepts, they're not just ideas and words, they're commitments of how we want to be in the world. And enactments, I find those helpful rephrasings. This first one here, I under is they're traditionally worded in the negative, and that can make a really clear container for us of what not to do, what is unskillful, what is harmful behavior. And then I've also added the wording adapted from Reverend Leanne Schute's book, Home is Here, Practicing Anti-Racism with the Engaged Eightfold Path. I'll share her book in the links down below. Um, And so underneath each one is the wording in the positive, which is also helpful about what we are cultivating, what we're refraining from, and what we're cultivating. The first one, I undertake the training to refrain from harming living beings. Living beings, including the earth, all sentient beings, all the animal beings. And in the positive, may I deepen and enact respect and honor for all life. Isn't that beautiful? And if all the precepts needed to be, mm, what's the word, boiled down into one, it would probably be this one, to refrain from causing harm. And, there's way from harming living beings, like to look at in what ways are we deadening ourselves or others with our speech or action. Um, oh my gosh, there's chihuahuas having a fight in the next room. Sorry, hope you can't hear that. Um, yeah, and so this also shows up even unconsciously, like in what ways are we harming each other and life? Mm, by our assumptions, our biases, our judgments of others, all these ways that are harmful. Um, I notice this when I'm like in line at the grocery store and I'm judging what someone else has in their cart or how they're behaving or what they're reading. I don't know, just judging. And hopefully, when that's noticed, um, I offer this protection. May you be safe from my harmful thoughts and energy. May I be peaceful. And so it can even be in our unconscious and the way we're harming people in our thoughts. And in the positive, how do we respect and honor others? The second one, I undertake the training to refrain from taking that which is not freely offered to me. And in the positive, may I develop generosity, renunciation, and contentment. um, how much are we taking of the resources from the earth, obviously, and from each other that isn't necessarily freely offered? Are we making assumptions, or are we taking more than we need? And how can we develop generosity that includes care for ourselves and each other? The third one, I undertake this training to refrain from harmful expressions of sexuality and sensuality. And phrased in the positive, may I attune to connection and intimacy with sensitivity. That's lovely. So it's not just sexuality. In the traditional precepts, it is in the context of monastics, certainly, and when we're on retreat. But also, sensuality is important to include, and the way it's phrased here with intimacy, sensitivity regarding intimacy. This can include respecting boundaries and consent, certainly. Um, and even, how much are we coveting, desiring others with our energy, with our thoughts, with our mind? That's kind of a more subtle level. The fourth one, I undertake the training to refrain from false and harmful speech. In the positive, may my words promote kindness and truth. That's very important to look at, when we're talking about the sphere of influence, where perhaps we're using social media or wider platforms to have some influence and to help spread skillfulness and education and truth, and but to do this in a way that is not causing harm, that is not violent. Yeah. And to look at what we say to ourselves internally as well. What kind of inner voice, inner talk is, talking trash to ourselves, putting ourselves down, or and it can be interesting to kind of ask yourself, or see if you can catch the moment to say, whose voice is that? It can sometimes be that we've taken on a voice, in our childhood of um, people being cruel in their words, and it's become an inner voice. And the last one, I undertake the training to refrain from substances that cloud the mind. May I maintain clarity in heart and mind. So this is to be able to have enough mindfulness to pay attention, particularly with drugs and alcohol. At what point are we no longer seeing clearly? Um, at what point do we lose our mm, agency to still be skillful with our speech and our actions? Um, because these things easily cause lack of mindfulness and can lead to harmful words and actions to ourselves and to others. We can also become intoxicated. These are about intoxicants, intoxicated with our anger, intoxicated with our self-righteousness, intoxicated by shopping, certainly intoxicated by smartphones, and these devices that are clearly designed to be addictive. And they certainly can cloud the mind when not used skillfully. Yeah. So these are, I'll also share them down below in the YouTube recording, and anyone that's here in the Zoom room, you have my email. I'll send you a copy if you want a copy of those. And um, this is a beautiful book. Uh, Home is Here. And the subtitle is Practicing Anti-Racism with the Engaged Eightfold Path. Whoa, look at that. I just disappeared on the video. I have to do a little reset like this and back. There I am. Um, Lien, Lien, and her last name is Shutt, Shutt. Um, so that's where some of that wording came from in the positive, and but it's also an excellent book. So this is our sphere of control. What thoughts, speech, actions, intentions, commitments, ethical commitments, enactments am I undertaking, and to practice with it every day. Write out your own or print these or post them, recite them, chant them if you um, know that, or you could probably find it on YouTube, uh, chanting the Buddhist lay precepts, and to really keep it up all the time, keep it front and center so that when you begin your day, you have that foundation and you know this is what I can actually control. And when this feels deeply established, then now I can really move into that sphere of influence from that ground of skillfulness, onward leading. Yeah, that's it. All right. So let's practice. Let's have a meditation practice now. Adjust your lighting or your space or anything you need for wakefulness and comfort. I would chant the precepts, but I don't think my voice would get through it tonight, so we'll forfeit that. One sec. So as you settle into your seat, take your time to see if you need any other adjustments or supports or movement, any stretch, touch. Mm. And as you settle into whatever degree of stillness feels supportive for you, you might we might recall this teaching from this Atta-rakkhita Sutta of, yeah, knowing that we don't have a squadron of elephants and cavalry and chariot troops and infantry around us. And yet we still feel this inner sense of protection, of uprightness, fortitude, confidence. And so that could be felt in your posture, feeling upright, or if you're laying down, just feeling that sense of your center, your core. Our inner strength. So that you might be able to feel some softening or relaxing, easing of your external tension, if there's tension in the muscles that isn't needed right now, giving some space for softness or ease. Letting the shoulders relax down. Checking in with the inner layers of the belly. Perhaps your nervous system has been activated or on alert, and see if some softening or gentleness can come to those inner layers. And as the muscles and the flesh soften and relax a little bit, we might feel a bit more grounded or weighted, feeling our presence in the center. So we feel embodied, relaxed, grounded, and upright. It's inner fortitude and protection. Aware of our sphere of control and our intention, knowing how deeply our lives intertwine. May I deepen and enact respect and honor for all life. And see how that feels in the body. May I deepen and enact respect and honor for all life. Feel that as a core value and how it radiates out into our sphere of influence and our spheres of care. May I deepen and enact respect and honor for all life. And this second precept, this undertaking, this training, may I develop generosity, renunciation, and contentment. What does that feel like in the body? Feel this as a sense of protection and a sense of care for all beings. May I develop generosity, renunciation, and contentment. May I develop generosity, renunciation, and contentment. And feel this sense of inner protection and strength building as you fortify these intentions. And thirdly, may I attune to connection and intimacy with sensitivity. May I attune to connection and intimacy with sensitivity. And fourth precept, may my words promote kindness and truth. May my words promote kindness and truth. How does that feel in the body? What might that look like in our daily lives? May my inner and outer words promote kindness and truth. And this last undertaking, commitment, may I maintain clarity in heart and mind. May I maintain clarity in heart and mind. And if all of these 5 precepts and enactments, commitments were summed into one, it would be that first one of non-harming. They all are encompassed in may I deepen and enact respect and honor for all life. And as you repeat that internally, feel it in your cells, in your spine, infusing your whole being with this training. And feel how it strengthens and fortifies and protects you and creates safety and brave space for others. You can feel this sense of this interconnected web of life that all of us here practicing this meditation and these precepts are part of this web of care and wise intention. And all around the world, boundless, boundless numbers of people with skillful, compassionate, generous, care and practice. Some practicing, many practicing with these precepts, and others in vast number of cultures and communities all around the world. This sense of your sphere of control, feeling that in your body, heart, and mind. And our interconnected sphere of influence that can make a difference, is making a difference. Into our boundless sphere of care and concern, all beings. May all beings everywhere develop this inner protection. May all beings everywhere be safe from inner and outer harm. All beings everywhere cultivate this awareness of what we're able to control and what we're able to influence in our deepest, boundless sphere of care for all beings everywhere. Mm. Thank you for your practice. If you're practicing with us after this recording on the YouTube channel, please check the links below for Reverend Leanne's book. And I'll also post this version of Precepts for you. And may it be so.